G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. I'm coming to you once again from this beautiful location down here at Circular Quay. I'm just next to the Museum of Contemporary Art and just admiring these beautiful jacaranda trees that are now in full flower, and that mauve. I just love that mauve colour. It's just absolutely spectacular, isn't it? Anyway, let's go on a bit of a walk and talk. And today I want to just extend our discussion on Greece and World War II, or Greeks at war. And today I want to focus on another aspect of the Greeks at war, and talk about the alliance that the Greeks have had with the Anzacs over time. So let's go for a walk and talk and just chit chat about the things that we know. And I think a lot of people are not aware that there were two Anzac missions. There was the first mission in World War I, where the Anzacs went and fought in Gallipoli, and then there was a second mission, a second Anzac story, which is where the Anzacs fought in the Battle of Greece, the Battle of Crete, in World War II. So let's just summarise that again. So from an Anzac perspective, there's a great history of Anzacs serving with the Greeks and in Greece. One was in World War I at Gallipoli, and the role that Limnos played in World War I. And the second opportunity for us to talk is about the Anzacs during World War II. So let's just focus on World War II for now, and then I'll go to World War I. So for those who are not aware, there are many Anzacs who are buried in Greece, in various parts of Greece, and they're Anzacs who fought side by side with the Greeks against the Italians, the Germans, the Bulgarians, and it was early in World War II. And I think I've talked before about how the Greeks repelled the forces of Mussolini and forced them back through Albania, and inflicted the first defeat of Hitler and his Axis forces. And the great thing about that defeat was that it put Hitler and his Axis forces on notice that the world was not going to sit down and let them walk all over them. And secondly, it destabilized Mussolini and his power, and it disrupted and destabilized his relationship with Hitler, because Hitler had to change plans, had to redirect his forces and send them back through Greece in order to finish the job that Mussolini wasn't able to accomplish himself, because Mussolini underestimated the Greeks and underestimated how the Greeks were going to defend to the very death their freedom, liberty, country, family, and everything that they've been fighting for hundreds of years and centuries. So what can we say here? So there are three distinct sort of battles during World War II where the Greeks were actively involved. The first one was the Greco-Italian War, where Mussolini declared war on Greece because Greece did not submit to his ultimatum to allow his forces to pass through Greece and continue in a pincer movement to Russia. And from there, then the Germans came to finish off the job that the Italians weren't able to even commence properly. And we had the battles within Greece, where the Greeks continued to resist for months on end, and it all culminated in the Battle of Crete. But we need to understand that because the Greeks were able to defeat the Italians in that initial battle and to make headlines all over the world, it gave time for leaders and people to send help to Greece in the terms of support, in terms of military support. And so the British as well as the Anzacs came to fight side by side with the Greeks. And the Anzacs didn't need to fight in Greece. They weren't defending their own country, but what they were defending was liberty and democracy, and they could see that there was an opportunity for a combined effort to slow down the path of Hitler and his Axis forces. For the Australians, because they lost quite a few men in battle, so there were a number of deaths, and as I said, there's a number of soldiers who were buried throughout Greece and in Crete. And also because the Germans came and defeated Greece, a lot of soldiers were captured. So more soldiers, more Australian and New Zealand soldiers were captured in Greece than in any other war that Australia has partaken in. But because a lot of soldiers weren't able to be evacuated quickly from Greece, they were captured. But the beautiful story that I love to share with people is that there's another story where there were hundreds of Anzac soldiers, Australians and New Zealanders, who were cared for and hidden for months on end by the Greeks in Greece to keep them alive, to keep them safe, and to ensure that they had safe passage back to their homeland later on in the war campaign. The other good thing about Greece, or that Battle of Greece, was that because they destabilised Mussolini and his relationship with Hitler, as well as his relationship or his power in his own country, the Italians at some point in, I think, 1943 or a couple of years later, deposed of him as a leader and changed allegiances. So you could also almost argue that if it wasn't for the Greeks to defeat the Italians and shame Mussolini publicly and humiliate him and his army globally, then things may have well been very, very different in terms of the outcome of the war. Also, highlight is that during the war, Hitler launched a new initiative, which was an airborne initiative, where in Crete he deployed thousands of paratroopers who descended from the skies in order to capture the airport and the airfields there in Crete. I think I'm saying Crete. Yeah, Crete it is. But thanks to the Greeks, as well as the Anzacs, and especially the New Zealanders were able to work with the Greeks and to inflict a devastating defeat on the paratroopers who were just falling out of the skies and being picked off by the soldiers, much to the point where Hitler said that he will never ever do such a operation, an airborne operation again, because it just proved to be a very, very damaging and demoralising defeat for him and his division, or that division that was involved. So once again, New Zealanders, Australians and Greeks working together were able to destabilise, to cause irritation and disruption to Hitler and his plans. So let's go back now and talk about World War I, because many of the people who fought in World War I, who were young soldiers in their early 20s, also served in a second Anzacs, in that second campaign in Greece and Crete. But in World War I, Greece was able to assist the war movement by allowing Limnos, the island of Limnos, to be the staging area for the war effort in Gallipoli and Turkey. Just to put it into perspective, Limnos is 80 miles from Gallipoli, very, very close. It's about the distance of what Sydney is to Nelson Bay, or even closer. It had a big, deep harbour which allowed for many ships to moor there, and based on reports that I've read, that harbour boasted the biggest armada of ships that the world had ever seen back in World War I. And it was a staging ground. All the Anzacs and the British soldiers who fought in Gallipoli actually passed through Limnos. So Limnos was a staging ground. That's where they went to get supplies. That's where they commenced their final journey from civilization to a hellhole. And that's where they returned after being injured or after their evacuation, to be with their loved ones or people who would care for them in the hospitals that had been set up there. So a wonderful story of how the Greeks and the Anzacs have a history spanning 2 world wars, not one. So for my Greek Australian friends, for my Australian friends, I want you to always remember that Greece and Australia have always been allies and have fought on the right side of right, protecting democracy, freedoms, and all of those wonderful things that the Greeks fought for in ancient times. We're able to fight for the same things in modern times. Anyway, let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay healthy, and most importantly, let's never forget Ohi Day, the 28th of October, which is coming up next week, and also to remember how the Greeks and the Anzacs worked side by side to influence, to change and alter the momentum of World War II. Even though many Australians died in battle while they were in Greece, many were captured by the Germans and went to concentration camps and suffered, no doubt. But there are also those wonderful stories of those Australians and New Zealanders who were cared for, were hidden, were fed and looked after by the Greeks in Crete, by the Greeks in the south of the Peloponnese, and the wonderful friendships and unity that we have as free people today. Thank you once again for tuning in to Jim's 5am Club, and it is a special edition, and I just want to pay homage to the Anzacs and to us Greeks, and to highlight the fact that we've worked together as brothers in arms. And there were also the nurses in Limnos, which cared for many troops, for many people. And for those who ever get an opportunity to travel to Greece, make sure you take a trip to Limnos to also visit the areas where the Anzacs were and the hospitals were in World War I, and to visit some war graves, and also to visit Crete, where there are war graves there and many fallen Australians. Take care, wishing you all the very best, and Zito Eleftheria to all of us. Glory to freedom. Bye for now.